Okay.
Okay, well, thank you everybody for being here. So, could everybody just raise your hand really quick so that I can show I have a good audience? Okay, thank you. All right. So, 4 years ago, I was a junior at BYU studying exercise and wellness, and that was really fun. I loved that opportunity. But I also had just had my first baby boy, Jaden Michael Livingston. He was born 3.5 weeks early, and because of that, he had some extra challenges. And between those challenges and my inexperience as a mother, I decided that I needed to stay home from school and quit going to school full time so that I could care for my baby. And that was a hard decision, but luckily there was BYU Idaho online, and so I quickly jumped into that and was able to pursue my degree at a more flexible pace. So I was doing that, and that was keeping me busy, being a mom, being a part-time student, and then I accepted some part-time work, and that was fun, kind of busy. And then I also accepted a calling that took a lot of time. Then we had another baby boy, Jackson, and Jackson was born while his daddy was on the other side of the world. His daddy is here now, right there, but he was across the world. And right after Jackson was born, we moved from Utah to California. And that was really, really crazy. Well, after that, Carter had to finish his graduate work, and then we eventually bought a house. That was a major fixer-upper and had a lot of work to do. However, Chip and Joanna Gaines were not involved in that. So the work was all on us, and that was really busy. So after we bought that house and started working on it, we're still working on it, we had our third little boy, baby Max. He was born just 3 months ago, but a week after he was born, he ended up in the hospital with bacterial meningitis, and he was there for 3 weeks, and I got to stay with him for that. So, needless to say, why am I telling you all this? Okay, I'm telling you all this to just illustrate that the last 4 years of my life have been extremely busy and chaotic, and I have spent many, many days just full of anxiety about how I was going to fulfill my responsibilities as a wife, as a mother, as a student, and as a Latter-day Saint. And I thought, maybe if we just get to the next stage, maybe things will get better after the baby comes, or after we graduate, or after we buy the house, or after we get the house fixed up, or after we buy a car, or after. And I'm wondering, do any of you guys have experience with this? Maybe you've had stressful periods and you think, if I can just get through this, everything will be better after I hit it. Can you raise your hand if you know what I'm talking about?
Happens all the time.
Of course, yes.
Yep.
But you know what I found, and perhaps you have too, that if we put our happiness on hold until after we get past our current stage, we're probably never going to really be happy, because the problem is every single stage of life has a lot of stress in it. And if we can't learn to find joy amidst the stressors, then we're going to have gone through our whole entire life without ever fully experiencing or enjoying it. So how do we do that? How do we find joy in our life even though things are stressful and hard and difficult? I think the biggest key is to live in the present. Now you may be wondering, what does that really mean? Well, Michael J. Formica, who's a family therapist, he reminds us that humans can't multitask. Sometimes we think we can, but when we're multitasking, what we're actually doing is quickly jumping from one task to the next really quickly. And doing this creates exhaustion. It also creates subpar efforts on each task. Rather, we need to fully engage in what we're doing and wholeheartedly engage in the task at hand. That's what it means that's one of the ways that we can be present. Another thing that we need to recognize is that it's really counterintuitive for us to live in the present. Dr. Rajeev Karaparty reminds us that humans are hardwired to plan for the future. And we do this in order to avoid potential anxieties and stressors and dangers. And in order to plan for the future, we use our experiences from the past, and we think about them, and then we use them to then make plans for what we're going to do next. And while that's not a bad thing, it is good to have a plan for your future. If we are always thinking about the future and always thinking about the next step, instead of just enjoying right now, we're never going to, like I said, enjoy our life, because we're always thinking about the next thing. So how do we do this? How do we live in the present? How do we enjoy the right now? Well, I have 2 ways. The first way is mindfulness. So let me explain mindfulness to you, because that's kind of a buzzword right now, but not a lot of people know what that means. So to be mindful is to sit and acknowledge where you are in this given moment. It's to think about how you feel, the sensations that are coming upon you, how they make you feel inside, what thoughts they bring up. It's to acknowledge these thoughts and these feelings without judgment, just experience them. This picture really illustrates mindfulness a lot, because how many times do we go on a walk and we end up like this guy, where we're enjoying beautiful scenery, but what's in our head is 1,000,005 things that are going on, or maybe some difficult thoughts we're having, just all this stuff going on, instead of just enjoying what's in front of us, enjoying the moment. So let me give you another example of mindfulness. Okay, I want everyone to close your eyes. Picture your favorite food. Just think about it for a minute. Okay, now open your eyes. I'm going to tell you about my favorite food now. My favorite food is homemade chocolate cake. Now, to mindfully eat that chocolate cake would be to sit down, to take a bite. Maybe it's a big bite, maybe it's a little bite. Put it in your mouth and think about, how does this feel on my tongue? Is it moist? What's the texture like? Is it sweet? Is it kind of bitter, maybe from some dark chocolate?
Sweet.
Yeah, sweet. How does this taste make me feel inside? Does it make me remember some happy memories I have of birthdays growing up, or fun times with family? As I swallow that piece of cake, does it feel good as it goes down? Do I feel warm and content? Am I stressed out about the next thing I need to do? So that's just kind of an illustration of how to mindfully eat something. And when we do that, we're able to fully experience it. Because how many times have we sat down to a meal or maybe a dessert, and all we're thinking about is the next thing we need to do, like doing our dishes or getting to the laundry. Okay, because if we want to enjoy something, we need to be mindful about it. The next thing that I want to tell you about is my little boy, Jaden. So the other night, I had this opportunity where I was able to choose to be mindful in the moment, and that helped me better enjoy my life and better engage in being present. So this is a little picture of Jaden that I snapped while he was in the crook of my arm while we were reading one of my favorite stories from growing up. And it was just a beautiful moment. The lamplight was soft, and I was really enjoying this story. He was really engaged with it, listening, and my husband was playing the guitar softly while the 2-year-old played and the baby was swinging in a swing happy. It was seriously a picturesque moment, and I wanted to take this picture to just remember this beautiful moment. And I'm so happy that I took the time to enjoy it, because it's not that I didn't have other things to do. I had laundry to fold, I had a lot of homework always to do, and I could have just shoveled everybody off to bed, but instead I decided to just enjoy it, and I'm so glad I did, because now I have that beautiful memory. So the next thing we can do, besides being mindful, is to have our priorities. Because we need to remember that we're not going to be able to get everything done right now. There's so many things I'm sure that we want to do in our life, but we can't do them all at the same time. So we need to establish priorities. What is the most important thing that you need to be doing right now in your life?
Eat chocolate cake.
Probably. I agree with that. Clean up. That's what Mommy said a lot. So you need to decide what is your number 1 priority. What is your number 2 priority? What is your number 3? If you do those things, then everything else will just kind of fall into place. And even if you don't get to anything else, you'll know that you got to the most important things.
What is number 1?
Number 1, my number 1 priority is being a good child of God, loving my Heavenly Father. But we'll go on to an example of priorities. So this is a horrible picture of me, but I found it on the screensaver of my husband's phone, and I wondered, why in the world does he have this picture of me on his phone? Because it's not very pretty. But he explained to me that this is a picture that helps him remember what's most important. Because as you can see, my little baby Max here, he was in the hospital. This is when he was struggling to get over his meningitis. And, that was a hard time for our family. Never in my life had I recognized how fragile and fleeting life really can be. And this picture helps my husband remember that, and remember that the most important things in his life are his family and his devotion to God. And when he sees that picture, it helps him put things into perspective and make sure he gets to what is most important. So, just in conclusion, in 2 months, I will graduate, and I will have a significantly more amount of headspace. I'll have some more free time, and it's easy to think that all of my problems will go away and everything will be better as soon as I graduate. But the truth is, that's not the case. And instead, what I really need to be remembering is that there will be wonderful moments tomorrow and today, and there will be stressful moments tomorrow and today. And I think the trick to fully enjoying and engaging in life is to experience those moments and actually live them in the moment instead of wishing the moment away. Thank you. Yay.